AI Community Africa, and basically what we do or what we look forward to achieve is to help give the best quality education to underrepresented folks, right? So that they can get to learn, have the best access to learnings in AI, machine learning, and everything related. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it's been super exciting. So we're a community, and part of what we look out for is that we look out to see how we can help each of our members get better in terms of their knowledge, better in terms of their access to what to do. That's their work now, because we really focus on AI and machine learning, and better in terms of connection, better in terms of the project and all of that, the quality of what comes out. At the end, our goal is to see that we can produce the best talent in Africa, right? We have some top shots who have been members of the communities who are working in big companies globally. And one of such is a lead volunteer, which is Stephen Oladele. He's going to be the one to take us to the mentorship session today.
Hi, everyone. Great to have you on board today once again. My name is Stephen, and what I currently do now, I'm an AI developer relations engineer at Encord. Encord is a data development platform for computer vision teams. So teams building computer vision applications and multimodal AI applications. I'm also, in my spare time as well, I also spend time in the AI community. I've been doing this for the past 5-6 years now, and so it's been really exciting. In person, I like to be jovial. I like to catch up with people and hold virtual coffees and even in-person coffees. And beyond that as well, my background is originally in physical sciences, and then I sort of switched to data science during my undergrad. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of my journey. We have some of the pre-submitted questions from members, and hopefully we'll try to cover them in the next 40 minutes, and then get your questions as well. We're going to address some of the questions that have been submitted by folks, and then I'm going to be talking about my career journey so that it helps you sort of put into perspective some of the questions that you might want to ask, because most of you are probably just knowing me for the first time or knowing my career path. So and then we're going to take in some of the questions that some folks submitted over the form. And then, whatever questions you have here, we'll go into the live questions. And I think the first question here is that, can you share your career journey and how you got started in AI? So as I mentioned, originally I have a background in physical sciences. So my undergrad was in chemistry. During my undergrad days, I got into the world of data science and Python. I started learning Python, and then from Python, I got into a conference that helped me understand the world of data science and AI. My first foray towards data science was actually from a community event, funny enough. So maybe that's why understand how I champion or advocate for community events. I got started through that community, and they were teaching like robotics, AI, and data, and I got fascinated because I was originally learning web development, and then I got to realize that this is really interesting. I really like things that people run away from because most people running over from that session at that time. So I really like that. It was a small session, so it was really able to the speaker at that time was able to get a lot more intimate, a lot closer with the members. So he was able to show us things like deep learning, TensorFlow. At that time, TensorFlow was still pretty new. PyTorch was still pretty new as well. So we're able to sort of get an understanding of what the world of deep learning is, which was still fairly new at that time as well, because I think the first breakthrough for deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning and AI, by the way, sort of happened only a few years, about 2 years just before that particular conference. So it was still pretty new for us. So I got curious when after that conference, I started digging deeper. I started taking courses, and eventually found myself, understanding that, deep learning is not where I should get started from, right? I need to go down into the data layer, go and understand data analytics, understand how to clean data sets, how to process data sets, how to curate data sets. And then, I started sort of building my knowledge up from there. And then the first career path, the first career transition was really, what's it called? An internship position at the fintech company at that time. So it was a challenge. And then from that challenge, we were able to select like a couple of people to join the program as interns. So I joined in a fintech as an intern at that time. And then really my career started to sort of go from there. And how I got to the world of AI developer relations was that even while I was working as an ML engineer at that time, they don't call it AI engineers, they call it AI engineers these days, but as an ML engineer at that time, right, I realized that there was a gap, and a lot of people were going into like web communities, Android communities, but there were no AI or data communities around. So we decided to create one. That was sometime in 2019 or 2018 in the city of Port Harcourt at that time. So there were a couple of people who were learning, and most of them are actually working for incredible firms now these days. But a couple of people were learning, and then we decided, hey, why don't we create a community of folks who can share resources and learnings and stuff in the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria at that time. So it was really an exciting moment for me as well, because during the day I would work, do my AI learning stuff, and then on the weekends when we host meetups, I'll be able to share my learnings with software engineers who didn't want anything to do with AI, wanted to sort of get started, or people who just wanted to pivot into a career in AI. So it was really exciting for us, to be honest. The other question here is what are the significant challenges that I faced early on in my career, and how did I overcome them? Interesting question. Thanks for asking that, whoever that is. So yeah, I think my early on, I really lacked a lot of direction, to be honest. And I think that was one of the key problems that I faced, was that I had no direction. And it was like I was just trying out everything. I was searching the internet. I was trying to pivot and then see what would be helpful, going through YouTube crash courses, going through books and stuff like that. And I think the pivotal moment came for me when I landed this book called Hands-on Machine Learning with Python and Scikit-learn. I think that sort of provided a good direction, because the flow of that book really went from the overview of machine learning, and then it went into like data processing, how to clean data sets, some Scikit-learn tricks and hacks to clean data sets. And then, it goes into also, before you sort of use any model, it gives you an idea of the mathematical intuition behind them, and then you just keep going. And for me, that was really important, because I didn't really have the mathematical background. So there was no way I could, at the low level, understand what was happening. So that's also another challenge I faced, is that I never really had the mathematics and statistics background required for me to truly understand these things in depth. So I relied on using a lot of the high-level abstractions that libraries like Scikit-learn gave me, and then even TensorFlow later on in my career, to be honest. And I know that mathematical intuition was still missing, so I still had to find a way to sort of learn that. The other sort of challenge that I faced was that not everyone, we didn't really have a lot of people, and I think that was one of the things that prompted creating a community around us. We didn't really have a lot of people doing AI and ML. So I think I was fortunate enough to be part of Data Science Nigeria program sometime in 2018. And then there were a couple of folks we just met, and then realized that, okay, there's a lot more that we can actually achieve, we can do with data science. And again, it was really the very, very nascent stage, not the very nascent stage, to be honest, but at least it wasn't as blown up as out of proportion as it is today. So yeah, no direction, no structure to my learning. That was one thing. I didn't really have mentorship early on, although I have a few friends who I call micro mentors, who I could ask questions, but they were also busy as well. So I couldn't get all my questions answered, but I really love them, love those guys. And then, like I said, there wasn't so many people doing it. So, it was hard for me to find the physical area for connecting with people and relating my knowledge as well. The third question here is, can you describe your current role as an AI developer relations engineer at Encord, and how what a typical day looks like for you? Okay, so let me give a background for what developer relations is. And some people call it marketing, some people call it developer marketing, and really there are distinctive nuances behind that. But as a developer relations engineer, your core goal is really to make the lives of developers easier. So if you're a developer relations engineer for a tool, your goal is, how can I make the lives of developers using this tool, whether it's the stakeholders, whether it's data engineers, whether it's the ML engineers, AI engineers, people using this tool, how can I make their lives easier? And there are different ways you can make life easier. Life is all about kind of experience, right? So you want to ensure that people that are using the tool have a good experience. So this way, you're probably relating with the product manager, the product team, and helping understand what makes a good developer experience going through a tool, right? So sometimes you guys go, some of you are on the DataCamp platform, or you've used tools before, right? You've used applications that are really bad, and they realize, okay, this doesn't make sense. I shouldn't be doing this. There are some things that should be intuitive for me to do. And then there are other areas of maybe you're using a tool and it just seems seamless, like you really enjoy the experience and stuff like that. Most times it's down to the product team. Other times, if it's a tooling, if you're a software engineer, you're familiar with using tools, realize that sometimes it's the feedback that you give that helps shape how the tool sort of gets better. So as a developer relations engineer, your goal is to ensure that the experience with the product is good. And then you also interact with the community, meaning you're providing like thought leadership pieces, whether you're writing blog posts to provide like understanding, helping people understand the industry you're in. That's the AI industry, the ML industry, and so forth. And then also being able to provide solutions and also learn from other, getting knowledge and getting feedback from other developers. So there'll be a lot of AI engineers out there figuring out, how do I build a RAG application, or how do I label my data sets, or how do I curate high quality data sets? Your job as a developer relations engineer is to make those people's lives easier. You're meant to provide content, whether it's video, whether it's podcast, whether it's a blog post, right? To make sure that they can go through it. And even more so, if you work for a firm, you sort of provide resources to help people learn how to use your firm's tools to solve these problems. And then, like I said, the more you curate very accessible content for these people to go through your firm's resources, the better you make their experience be, and then help them solve problems with that tool as well. So it's, as again, in short, is to make like your developers' lives easier, or AI engineers' lives easier, or ML engineers' lives easier. That's your core goal as a developer relations engineer. So kind of that's why they call it relations, right? Because you have the background as an AI person, so you can be able to think like an AI engineer would and be able to put different things. You understand, okay, what would an AI engineer, how would an AI engineer want this tool to look like? How would an AI engineer want this content to look like, right? And that's it. So 3 things really is: you have the product, meaning you want to make sure that the product is as easy to use as possible for the developers. You want community. So community is meaning you're sharing thought leadership. So even if you want to be truthful, meaning even if your content is, even if your product is not the best solution for that, you want to provide really, really thorough and good and truthful advice for people to do. People look up to you for advice. People look up to you for say, hey, what's the best tool for this? And if your tool is not the best for that, a good developer relations engineer will recommend other tools that are better, right? But you need to be a strong advocate for your own tool as well and say, hey, our tool does this really well, but we are still trying to improve on these other areas. So when it comes to data development, Encord is number 1, because we've put in a lot of work to get it to where it is. When it comes to model training, we don't really do that. We support that, but here are other tools that do it better. So that's one of the things under the community side. And then you have like content, like create content, like you are going to create a lot of content, both on the documentation, maybe working with the technical writer on the documentation, and then on the blogs, or like I said, videos and stuff like that, or Discord chat, Twitch and streams and stuff like that. So these are the 3 major things. And then the 4th one is actually talking to a lot of customers. And usually this is where there's a blurry line between a solutions architect as well as a developer relations engineer. You can Google solutions architects later on. But ideally, you talk to a lot of customers, you get their feedback on the product, you get their feedback on what they want to see, the types of contents they want to see. You want to also advise them. You talk to them a lot to advise them, to help them understand what's the best approach, what's the best architecture, what's the best system for helping structure or solve their problem. So these are the things that, a typical developer relations engineer, and actually this is what I majorly do at Encord as well, especially the first 3 things. Like, I want to use the product myself. If the product is good enough, I recommend it to other people. If it's not, I talk to the product team, we refine, we get better. And I'm also truthful to people and saying, hey, we don't do this really well, but this is what we are doing to improve the situation. I'm a really strong advocate for our tool at Encord. The other thing is community, being in AI communities, ML communities and stuff. These are some of the things that I spend some of my day doing as well, a small chunk of my day doing. And then content. So content and product are the things I spend a lot of my time doing. And then community is like what I spend like towards the end of my day, right? What I spend that doing. So on the content side, I'm reviewing like content to make sure that they're accessible to developers out there. But I'm also maybe working with our writers, technical writers, to help create like good content, as well as also because I have a deep understanding of our product, I create like content that can help developers use our products properly, whether internally or customers or external communities and stuff like that. And then essentially that's really what I do. And you can mostly do this because you have a background in AI, you have a background in ML, because you can't like talk to customers when you don't understand what you're talking about, right? You need to be able to understand, you need to have been in their position. And it's because I've been in that position before. I've lived as an ML engineer, as a data engineer, or as somebody actually building AI applications. That's why it's near enough for me to relate to people when they talk, whether it's in the external communities and they want solutions, or to our customers. Okay, the other question is, you are also the co-founder of AI Community Africa, an organization dedicated to AI education and opportunities. What motivated you to start this initiative over 5 years ago? How has the organization evolved, and what are some of the programs you offer to support the community? So I think the major thing really with AI Community Africa was, like I mentioned, we started the community because we didn't really see a lot of communities that were doing like AI and data related stuff about that time. So it was really difficult for us to just I was just myself and about 2 other learners and stuff. It was difficult for us to just say, hey, we can't be left out, right? There were web developers, there were Android developers, we were having vibrant communities, right? But then there were no communities for people who were interested in learning data science and AI and stuff. So we decided, hey, we're going to start off one. And it was only actually when we started off one, that we had people saying, hey, I'm into this stuff as well, but because there hasn't really been any community, right? So I didn't really pay attention, as the case may be. So it was really, really crucial for us to be able to have started that, because that really helped open the floodgates for like a lot of people who just really wanted to do this. So the challenge there was that there was no existing community. Now the other challenge for us was that we had three types of people in the community quite early on. We had software engineers, who were these Android developers and web developers and app developers, who they wanted to learn about AI, but they didn't want to do AI. Meaning, I'm building an app, how can I get an API? How can I get a software development kit or something like that? Or a kit that I can integrate into my app and use the power of the power of AI without having to learn about AI. We had those sort of people, right? We had people who were more in the towards, like, they were maybe in the medical space, maybe in the economic space, the financial space, and then they're saying, hey, I work really hard as a medical person. I just want to know how I can use AI in my field as a medical practitioner, and then we have people who were actually wanted to transition into like fields that data analysts, ML engineers, and data scientists and stuff like that. So these were the three broad ranges of people that we had in the community at that time. And we started to see people gravitate towards what their pack was really. Also for software engineers, we started to start hosting meetups around TensorFlow. And I think there was MLKit at that time. This was like MLKit is now old now when you talk about it. But there was APIs and Google Cloud Vision APIs that software engineers could use. But we needed to create meetups and programs that could help software engineers understand how to use those APIs properly. And then they were like, you'd essentially walk them through understanding how to use those tools, how to use the kits, how to use the API and stuff. And then, how to integrate that into the application. And then obviously you talk to people who were also in the academia saying, hey, I have my thesis in AI and data science and stuff, and I actually just want to work with someone to help help solve this particular problem in my thesis that I'm proposing with my thesis. I don't have the AI skills or the data science skills and stuff, but I just wanted to sort of apply data science. So we had those sort of people as well. So when we started seeing this, these different packs of people, we realized that, okay, there was a lot more that we needed to do with evolving the community. So that was one of the things that we started doing. We started building programs that were tailored towards either software people or people who were getting started in data science. So we're teaching very specific frameworks, and these were like meetups quite early on, meetups that we had. We're still a small group at that time. It wasn't really a large group. So, we had meetups, we had a lot of online sessions, we had like virtual meetings and stuff, and all that sort of stuff. And how I've seen the community grown is that we actually had this quite an interesting course, practical machine learning course. That time we tailored that towards a thought set of people who had some knowledge of data science and wanted to evolve their understanding into machine learning. So we created a course at that time. I think it's still on the curriculum is still on our website if you want to go check it out. Old website, by the way, not our new website. I think it's PHC I don't know, PH School of AI, something like that. Maybe you just check it out. But yeah, we had that curriculum, and then our goal was that we needed to invite people. We created a curriculum, and then we invited people who were specific world-renowned experts in each and every one of those like topics. So we invited people who were great at UI UX, building like good UX for AI applications. We invited people who understood data engineering, and then we invited people who understood like how to clean data and stuff like that. People who were really good at that, and it really invited those people, and that really helped us a lot. Unfortunately, I think COVID struck at that time, so we couldn't do it in person anymore. And then we moved all our operations really online, and that was how we sort of created that course. So that course still really helps quite a lot of people, I see, from the Google and YouTube analytics up until now. But it was helpful for us to launch out some of the learning programs that we had to help people become good ML engineers. And how the community has evolved to this sense is that now we're looking forward to, beyond just learning, how can people apply their learning? And these are some of the lessons we've learned over the years. We've created like learning programs a lot now. And then our goal is always, we are continually learning and saying, how can we make it a lot easier for people to learn, a lot more accessible for people who are actually interested in this program, in this technology, or in these technologies, data technologies, AI technologies and stuff, to learn. But also we know that beyond learning as well, we need to provide a platform for applying application. So we are also trying to figure out, how can we ensure that people can apply what they've learned, even to solve local African-based AI problems. So the African-based problems, with AI. So these are some of the things that the community has sort of evolved to be, and we want to be, we are still learning. It's still a lot of learning process, and we are always open to feedback, how we can make things better. We are always looking at getting feedback and stuff, and improving what we are doing. So I see here this other person is asking, what are some of the skills and tools you believe are essential for someone looking to excel in AI and machine learning today? Really today, if it's today, which is like June 2024, the skills required, really, I'm just going to be honest with you, is learn how to build. Like building is just a required skill, right? And the core, that's the fundamental skill, is building. Fundamental skills are building and learning. You want to have a learning mindset, because the field is constantly evolving, that there's a new tool that probably solves a problem that you were having like 2 days ago, just today. So today, if you really want to excel in AI and machine learning, right, learn the foundations, really learn those properly. Those are crucial, and that's why I'm grateful that we have some of our learning programs, which is really good. But also, be willing to build, be willing to pick out a project and say, hey, even as I learned today, this is the final project I want to get done after learning, right? And that's one of the things you need to learn. How can you build stuff? How can you think about a problem? And this is like more of a problem solving situation, is that how can you think about a problem and then break it down? So usually the way I've seen people do this, and the way I've actually learned a lot from this, I'll give an example of how I was able to get into like deep learning and learn some of the interesting cloud skills that I was able to learn quite early on. Was that in one of our projects at AI Community Africa, I worked with somebody who was running a PhD thesis, and his PhD thesis was essentially how can we sort of deploy AI systems in resource constrained environments for farmers at that time. And this was like in 2020, 2021 or 20, either 2020 or 2021, right? So it was a really hard problem, right? But I had a fundamental understanding of what it takes to build an end-to-end project at high level. I took courses on that. I took courses to understand what the workflow of ML and AI is. So to some certain degree, I understood what he was trying to accomplish, but I never really knew how to do it. I had zero knowledge of how to do it. But one thing that experience taught me was you always learn along the way. And when you decide to pick one hard problem, obviously I've built projects before then that were a lot easier. But then, I had about 3-4 projects at that time, before that time, that were a lot easier for me to go through. I was able to complete some of them. I wasn't able to finish. But then I looked at this big problem. I had no knowledge on how to do that. But I had this really good encouragement from the community as well. What we just did was that we took this large problem and then we broke it down. Okay, what's the first stage? The first stage was understanding what the problem is. What's the second stage? The second stage was collecting the data. You can imagine how stressful that is, going and collecting the data required for that particular problem. And the third stage was, cleaning the data, making sure it's ready and all of that. And then the fourth stage was, okay, selecting the model, finding the model, defining like the algorithm and stuff like that. And then the fifth stage was that evaluating or validating your model. And then once, the supervisor or the PhD researcher approved, and then you can sort of move towards, okay, how can I deploy? How can I now not just deploy, but think about a deployment architecture that sort of accommodates like resource constrained deployment. So these were some of the things I had to take courses specifically on to learn. I had to take a course to learn how do I really understand and frame a data science problem, right? I went on to take a course to learn how do I sort of understand like how to collect data sets. How do I, understand what data sets to collect? I read articles, I read blog posts and stuff. And this is truly how you learn, just learning by doing. But you don't get there magically, right? You get there by learning those fundamentals. The fundamentals will be boring for you to learn. You go through some of your courses that are in data camp and stuff like that. But you never get to that point where you're ready to take on projects until you start taking on projects, right? But it's really, really good that it's really, really important that you learn the fundamentals. You learn those fundamental courses. So usually, I think some of these, like I'm thankful for like something like Data Camp or Coursera, they have these specializations that you have to painfully go through sometimes to go, to finish that up. But one thing is that once you finish that up, right, be willing to quickly say, what project can I solve today? What project can I take on today? What project can I leverage? Can I sort of build today with these skills that I've learned? Now, you don't need to really know that you can do that project, right? The most important thing is that you understand what it would take to do the project. Not everything. You don't need to understand 100% what it would take, but you understand, okay, this is an idea of what the finished product looks like. And then start building your way back, start breaking it down into stages. Okay, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do second? Given all the knowledge I've learned from this specialization I've taken or this career path I've learned in Data Camp or Coursera or whatever platform you're learning through. So it helps, it really helps a lot. And that's what I would say when it comes to, somebody that's starting their journey today. Take one of those specializations, just keep learning, take notes and see what it takes, understand fundamentally what does this field look like. And then after that first specialization, be willing to take one project, think about a project. There are project ideas online. And one of the initiatives in the AI Community Africa is that we're actually curating projects together. We're creating project ideas together so that it's easy for you to, find some way and then pick an idea and go sort of build it out. And, just pick that idea and be willing to take that idea and just go figure out what it would take to break down the idea, or so what it takes to complete the idea, and just go start learning. Each stage, start learning what it would take to do it. And that was how I was able to learn most of the technologies that I knew at that time, and I was able to sort of cross-reference and apply to other things. So this person asked, building a career in AI and ML requires continuous learning. What resources and learning strategies have been useful for you to stay up to date with latest advancements and best practices in the field? Right. So one really is staying in touch in communities. So I think community programs a lot keep me really updated. So please find global communities. I know some of the ones I'll recommend. They are like the machine learning operations community. That's a community for AI engineers, ML engineers. They are essentially communities that are built around specific tools. That might not be really helpful for you, but there are also general communities like there's a Data Camp community where I think people sort of discuss a lot of these interesting things. Obviously, there's AI Community Africa as well. We'll keep doing our best to see that we can help you provide like the learning resources to sort of stay up to date and stuff like that. But the world is changing really fast now, and that the best way you can learn is really organic. Sometimes you follow the right people on Twitter. That's one of the ways I learn as well. I follow the right people on Twitter. I take courses. So sometimes I just like, some a favorite like researcher of mine, launches a course and I'm willing to just pay for that course and take it. That's because obviously it's a career of mine and I need to keep up to date. So I take courses. I focus on communities. So some of the conversations that are happening in communities, they are really helpful. And then, I'm able to also go on Twitter organically, figure out things. But also there are places like the Hacker News for you to sort of get insights, because Hacker News is blowing up right now because the AI world is blowing up essentially. So these are some of the areas. And then the fourth area really is like reading research papers. So reading research papers might be hard, especially if you're not a researcher, but find a way to so these days you can have like GPT tools that give you the ability to summarize research papers. So I think that's one of the things that you might want to sort of take into consideration. The other thing is like YouTube channels. So there are specific YouTube channels that sort of keep you updated most of the time. So that's the fourth one I recommend. Again, find communities that are discussing the same thing you're discussing, the AI data and stuff. If you go online, search like, AI communities, ML communities and stuff. These are probably where some people are discussing some of the latest ideas, sharing resources and stuff like that. Two is, sometimes, courses are some of the other places I stay up to date. The way I take courses I only take courses on demand, meaning if I need to solve a specific problem, I'd rather take a course or read a book than go take a crash course, right? It helps. Then go take a crash course on YouTube, it helps. But the third one is like, please use YouTube. And then the fourth one is, if you can, try to summarize some of these research papers or white papers and stuff that are going on. You need to sort of read a lot better. There are other ways, and like I said, Twitter, sometimes Twitter, YouTube Shorts and stuff. These are sort of more sort of organic ways, but ideally the four major ways I would say are, you need to be very intentional about that, and obviously beyond research papers as well, some books. These days people release their books in bite shorts, blogs and stuff like that. These are some of the ways that people are also updating it. But yeah, can you share some of the strategies for learning and applying complex AI concepts, especially for those who might be self-taught? So again, I'm going to just reiterate, pick a project. So far you have like a fundamental understanding of this field you're in, AI, ML and stuff. Pick a project, preferably maybe a fairly tough project. Break it down into stages, like what stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, what are the stages I have to take? And if you don't know how to break it down, reach out to someone in the community, or reach out to someone and this is why community is really important, or ask questions. I think Twitter, sometimes if you ask questions and tag people, they're able to give you ideas and stuff. So once you've been able to break it down, go learn the stage 1. What would it take to complete stage 1? Just go learn that. Go learn stage 2, go learn stage 3 and stuff. That's the way you learn and apply complex AI concepts. If you learn in isolation, you're more likely to forget it, and you're more likely to have isolated knowledge or obsolete knowledge, because this field is changing really fast. Than when you just say, hey, I want to apply this stuff. I want to learn this stuff because I have something to apply it to. I have a project to apply it to. So that's really the best way to sort of do it. Like I mentioned, one of the initiatives we are running and we are planning in the AI Community Africa is that we help you select, give you project ideas and then give you the roadmap to help achieve that, so that these things are a lot easier for you to sort of leverage as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like giving you a round of applause. This was well packed. Thank you so much, man. Okay, so right, a few questions of mine before we dive into the community question. I mean, seeing your career right now, you look like the top shot right there with Encord right now. I know there's a lot of newbies right here. Most of their questions are they're getting started. So what would you say was Stephen version 1.0 to Stephen version 2.0 that help you get right up to the top, right? Because some persons have not gotten their head fully wrapped around this. What's your version 1.0 like? Or what would you recommend version 2.0 like currently? And then they'll just get them up to where they'd love to have an enviable career like you have.
So yeah, I'll say my version 1.0 really was somebody who was just learning aimlessly. I was just learning anything, right? I was just randomly taking courses and learning a lot of things in isolation because I was self-taught, right? There was no path. Like I mentioned, I struggled really with structure early on in my career, which really sort of affected the way I learned. I struggled with structure. There was no structure. So for me, I think when I decided that, hey, I was just going to sit down, take this one course that takes me through understanding the ML, the machine learning or the data science life cycle, or the life cycle of a data, if you're in data engineering track, just pick up one path and then just say, hey, I'm going to sit through this path. And then immediately after that path, right, I'm going to pick up a project, right? Not a capstone project, meaning it's obviously I'll do the capstone project. I did a capstone project from the course, but a project of my own that I can say, okay, I will take an open data set somewhere, maybe from Kaggle, or maybe from this thing, or maybe even go get your own data set. That was what I did in the project related to the PhD researcher and stuff. But essentially, not everyone has the luxury to go find data sets themselves. So you go find your data sets, in Kaggle or something, and then say, I'm going to take this financial data set, for example. Can I be the financial model out of this? And I go on Kaggle, and then I realize, okay, I what do I need to do first? I need to frame the problem. First off, I need to frame the problem. Is it a data science problem? Is it a machine learning problem? Is it a problem that I need a machine learning model to solve? And then the next one is, okay, how do I clean the data? How do I do feature engineering, feature selection and stuff? How do I be the model? So you break that down into stages. So yeah, essentially Stephen 1.1, 1.0, aimlessly taking courses, with no direction in mind, with no end goal of why I'm taking this course in mind in the first place, right? But what the Stephen 2.0 was more of, okay, I was going to sit down through this fundamental course and this fundamental path. I'm going to learn it, going to take notes, because my understanding is, what does it take to really go end to end in AI, ML, data science? What does it take to really build an outcome? An outcome, what's the final? How do I go from 0 to 1 in AI and ML? And that's what that course essentially is meant to show me. And then, now is how do I figure out the project to work on that's going to keep helping me learn more concepts along the way. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's even very practical for me to use. All right. My final question here is, I mean, you're very passionate about AI Community Africa, and it seems like this has impacted a lot of your career journey, and you really volunteer for it a whole lot. Like, what have you benefited here in AI Community Africa that you will love others to know about, that will also encourage them to volunteer as well?
Yeah, really, I think one is really the good friends, the people you collaborate with, that you meet along the way. I think that's really nice. That's really from the community. But then there are also resources that people have shared in the community. Sometimes there are scholarships that I've applied for. I can't even count them these days. Scholarships or programs that I've applied for, or maybe an article that someone shares that I've read, that just sort of helped me solve a particular problem at that time, or the resource that someone has shared that helped me solve a particular problem. So really, for communities, not just AI Community Africa, whatever community I'm in, the ability to just be able to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm having this challenge. Can I get like 5 minutes of your time or 10 minutes of your time? That's unparalleled. You almost cannot do that everywhere else. If you try reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, it takes a lot of empathy for them to get back to you ASAP. But if you're in the same community as they are, and they are active as well, you can just reach out and say, hey, I have this challenge with this project. Just can I have like 10 minutes of your time? Or, just throw it out to the community and say, hey, I'm having trouble debugging this issue and stuff. People are willing to sort of step in and help you do it, because that's the essence of the community in the first place. So for me, that's really, really important thing, is that, people are willing to share resources, are sharing resources. Most people have shared resources that have impacted me a lot. And then, there's also been like, people, willing to help, jump on a call with me, chat with me about issues they're having or I'm having, and then we're able to resolve that together. For me, that's something you can't find everywhere else. One of the things we did with our practical AI course in 2020, I think, was through the essence of community that we're able to get some of these people to just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give back to you all. I'm going to give back to you guys, and help you grow, and help your team grow, and stuff like that. So that was helpful. And then when I look back at some of the good work and some of the people who the earlier founders and earlier members of the AI Community Africa, and what they're doing right now in the AI space, and as well as the software space, it also sort of encourages me as well, and realize that, okay, if we build a proper platform or proper system for people to learn, grow, contribute back to the community, we can genuinely, it's not just, 5% of people succeeding. Now we can increase the odds of a lot more people succeeding and solving local problems. And then, because most of these folks who were part of the community early on, they are probably out of the country right now, solving problems in other countries and stuff like that. Well, you can genuinely build a system that helps people solve local problems. So yeah, that's one of the other things that keep me going.
All right, thanks, man. I mean, just to add, recently I had a few folks I linked up with some. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me, man?
Yes.
I hope it's not our network. Can anyone in the call hear me? We're able to be connected to some projects from the community, like jobs and all of that, right? So that's one of the things that happened. So here's a question from Samuel. Someone asking, what roadmap should one follow for someone that wants to transition to AI engineering?
Yeah, if I'm meant to give like a general answer, it's still going to boil down to how I think I'm learning these days, and how I encourage literally every like top class practitioner I know encourage people to learn this way as well. Find a project that you really think is interesting, and that's why one of the reasons why I asked for your background. Giving you a clear perspective of problems that are really important, that are really exciting for you. Find a problem that you think AI can solve, and you can only know that when you've taken like a fundamental course to really understand what is it that AI can do and AI cannot do, right? And once you've been able to understand what AI can do, AI cannot do, now it's your job to really think through what are the things that I can, what is the project that I can do, that can help, and then break that down into stages. Like I said, stage 1 could be like solving problems, understanding how to frame problems or write product requirements documents, and then learn how to do that. Stage 2 could be curating data, building data and stuff. Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm coming from I'm a software engineer, so I want to transition AI engineering. So I want to kind of.
So when you say software engineer, what platforms do you develop for?
Okay, let me say full stack JavaScript developer. I use React, Nest, and React Native.
Yeah, it makes it a lot. Thank you for sharing that, Samuel. It makes it a lot easier to really help answer this question. And I think for someone like Samuel, who's like a full stack engineer and stuff, I think the first way is how can you get a quick win, with AI. And usually I'll just tell you, look, go and start with APIs. Go to, one way is to go to like the OpenAI's API documentation. I think they usually have free credits or stuff like that, or maybe some other, maybe Hugging Face. I'll just start with OpenAI because I think their documentation is easier to understand. Just go figure out, okay, how can I use OpenAI's API? Now, originally, if you're completely new to AI, then I would say go take a fundamental course on how to, there are courses that are maybe software AI for software engineers. There are probably courses like that. Or if there are no courses like that, let's assume there are no courses like that, I would say just go take a fundamental course on machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? Understand why data is important for AI. Understand why, what types of data that AI system, understand the different types of AI, supervised learning, unsupervised learning stuff. So it's very fundamental. The course shouldn't even probably take you more than 1 hour, 30 minutes. I think some of these introductory courses will help. And then when you're done with that, you just want to get your hands dirty right away. Why do you want to get your hands dirty right away? Because you're a builder. As a software engineer, you're a builder. So you don't want to wallow in like a lot of documentation and going back and forth and stuff. And there are some blogs that actually give you like the fundamentals of, AI for software engineers. So if you sort of Google that, you probably will find that. But anyways, you want to go to OpenAI's API documentation and then figure out how you can just build a demo app, integrate that into your JavaScript application, build a demo app quickly and send your request and then get a response in return, and then see the power of AI just in an application. Once you've done that, you can start scaling your knowledge and say, okay, from there in, what problem can I particularly solve? What project do I want to do? For example, I want to generate like a web application that, helps people generate emails. then you just go build that. You build the interface, I really don't, you build like the stuff, and then you now figure out how can you connect OpenAI's API. And then once you start doing that, you can start figuring out how you can leverage APIs to solve the problem. The next layer is, beyond APIs, how can you start understanding AI models? So that's when you start digging into like things like understanding how can you use like leverage open source tools from like Hugging Face. I think Hugging Face has a documentation for most of their models and stuff like that. But essentially, to get started with AI again, just start off with like a fundamental AI course. There are specific courses that are tailored towards software engineers, but you need to learn like the terminologies and stuff, and then just start figuring out how you can integrate like an AI API. So if you're building a vision-based application, for example, you can just pick up Google Cloud Vision API and then integrate it into it's really easy to integrate into your application, right? You can even use it in a web browser, right? The most important thing is that you figure out, okay, what is this problem I want to use AI to solve? If you don't know that problem yet, then you should probably go learn about the capabilities of AI, what AI can or cannot do, and then figure out, okay, if you think AI can solve this problem, what is an API I can leverage right now to solve this? If there's no API, then you probably want to go into the other layer of understanding like AI models and stuff like that. And then you don't need to know how to build models these days, to be honest, right? Once you understand this is the model I want to do, you go to somewhere like Hugging Face or Replicate or something like that, and just go find a model like that, read the documentation, read like the parameters and stuff, and then just try it out. The best way is really building again for you as a software engineer, but you need to know what you want to use AI to do before you sort of get into that tangle.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Daniel is asking, how can we get involved in building these Africa AI projects?
Do you mean African AI projects from AI Community Africa, or just generally African AI projects? I'm not very sure.
I think it's speaking from the community. I mean, we make reference to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, information is going to go across really once that kicks off. You're going to learn it. You're going to sort of get an idea of the angle we're trying to approach this with. But let me also talk about the other angle as well, is that problem solving is a skill on its own. Like finding problems, is a skill on its own. There are some things that you do today that there are problems around it. Sometimes it could be like logistical problems, sometimes it could be software-based problems and stuff like that. So I think for you to really understand the types of projects, you need to have a fundamental understanding of what AI can or cannot do. And this is why I'll always make reference to find a career path that takes you through the life cycle of what AI is capable of right now. Because there are some things that AI can genuinely not do, and you don't actually require AI to do them, right? But you wouldn't know this until you maybe go through a book, go through an article and stuff that helps explain some of the things that AI can today and cannot do. Today, AI can read and interpret documents. Today, AI can, turn speech to text or text to speech and stuff like that. Once you have that fundamental understanding, really, of what AI today can or cannot do, and trust me, it's changing. It's crazy how it's changing, month over month. Right? Once you have that fundamental understanding of what AI can or cannot do, I think it's a lot easier for you to understand, okay, now, what are the problems you're solving in the West? Maybe some people are solving problems with recommending the right books for people, like students, to learn from based on maybe some information you've gathered from the students. These are problems that maybe you have like issues like with students not understanding like the books they should read and stuff like that. That's a problem right there. So you're like, okay, how can I collect the right data on the students to be able to recommend like the right book for them to read, or the right questions for them to learn on the test or stuff like that. So this is just one vertical, which is education. The other verticals like agriculture, sometimes it could be like agriculture, maybe your farmers are struggling to get like information. How can you make information a lot more accessible to them? That's also another way. So I mean, in different sectors, there are different issues that plague them. But the onus is on you to understand what AI can do, and then if this is a problem anyways that you can solve with AI, that's the second question. And then the third question is, do we really need AI to solve this problem? Because that's also another issue that people get wrong. Most times you don't actually need it. Most times it's just a manual way that works, because there are all other factors that are plaguing that issue. So yeah, once you figure out what AI can or cannot do, the question you should ask yourself is that, can AI solve this particular problem? AI doesn't really determine the problem. It's a technology like software, Android, like any other technology. It's really a technology. It's your own job to say, hey, what project, what problem am I trying to solve, and can AI actually solve this problem? And then, do I really need AI to solve this problem? So these are some of the things as well. So like I mentioned, we'll communicate some of these projects, but for now, the onus is on you. And maybe there might be a challenge. Maybe I think the data camp coordinators are planning the challenge where you can you be able to brainstorm some of the ideas you have that you think AI can solve, and then you're able to break that down into steps.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. The last question we have, it's a long one, so I'll just summarize it. The difference between data science and machine learning.
Okay, so the difference between data science and machine learning. These days, if I'm talking from what's happening today, to be honest, there seems to be a convergence around what AI is, right? And because everything is converging into one space, right? Before now, let me give a background context. Before now, we had statistics, right? All of you study statistics, probability. You dealt with data. Understanding data was like the epitome of what statistics is. Being able to understand and interpret data, right? And then after statistics, you started going into analyzing and understanding data. That was essentially what was it. And then you began to have these things called, we started to hear data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century, 10, 14 years ago, I guess, or 12 years ago. Then what they meant essentially was that in the world of data science is all about how can you, as like any other science, although it's not really a pure science, but like any other science, how can you take mathematical models or statistical models and apply them to data sets? So if you did advanced statistics, that's probably one of the things that's probably quite familiar to you. So at that point, we're like, okay, data science was all about, can I take financial data sets and then try to be try to be the mathematical models or statistical models to help me understand these things. And then from there, the other side is how can, based on my understanding, can I make new predictions, right? Can I make new based on my interpretation or based on the model interpretation, can it generate new predictions or new suggestions on what to do and stuff like that? So that's data science, meaning you're collecting data, you're building models, you're experimenting, you're building different experiments and understanding which model is likely able to properly help you understand the data properly and make new predictions. Now you entered into the world of machine learning, which also has an intersect between AI and which also has an intersect with data science. With machine learning, you're taking that data science up a notch. You're not saying, okay, now that this model can be able to help me generate predictions and stuff, can I take this mathematical model that can generate predictions and help take that to an end user? So essentially, that's the machine learning engineering, right? So you have data science, you have machine learning engineering, or sometimes you call them ML developers or ML engineers and stuff like that. Can I take this model that this data scientist has experimented with, has built different experiments with, and selected the best one? Can I take that model and make that available to an end user? So an end user could be a mobile application, an end user could be like a web application, an end user can even be like a stakeholder. Sometimes the data scientists, what they do is that they generate different reports, and then they generate different models, and based on those models, they're able to generate reports. Sometimes it could be like a statistical analytics. They don't even have, sometimes it doesn't even need to be a prediction. It could be like the model they're generating helps them understand the world, helps them understand the data, and then they're able to build reports, dashboards, reports based on that data to explain to stakeholders and stuff. So the end goal isn't always prediction, right? The end goal is just to understand the data properly. And as data scientists, your job is to take your data sets and then build statistical or mathematical models that helps you understand the data properly. That's quite different from analysts. That's not vastly different from analysts. Analysts just take down data sets, analyze them properly, analyze them themselves, use different statistical methods to analyze them, but it's not as advanced as data science, where you're running different experiments, you're training AI you're training ML models or you're training statistical models to be able to understand or fit the data properly. And then, whether you're generating reports at the end of the day to understand the data, or you're using that model at the end of the day to serve some end user. That's it. So so the types of models are now pretty much where you have like NLP, computer vision, and deep learning coming. So you can have like NLP models. So these are language models. So you're training language models to understand the data sets, language data sets. You're training computer vision models to understand computer vision data sets. You're training deep learning models to understand deep learning data sets. So there are different algorithms. There are language algorithms, there are computer vision algorithms, there are deep learning algorithms and stuff like that. So that's what both the data scientists as well as the ML people tend to use. So as a data scientist, typically you might be in a specific vertical, and you might be working on like just computer vision models, mostly building computer vision models, and the data sets you're playing with is mostly on the visual data sets, video and image data sets. With language, you might be like an NLP engineer. So these are people specifically focused on language models, language algorithms, and stuff like that. So there are very people who focus on specific areas, NLP engineers, civil engineers, and stuff. But overall, as a data scientist, your job is to build like statistical models to help understand the data sets. Now, it's going to depend, like your level of maturity will depend on the level of the particular models. But these days now, the reason why I'm saying that a lot of things are converging is that most of these models, you don't have to build them anymore. Now you have like OpenAI's GPT that, you don't have to build these GPT models from scratch again. And that's why you're seeing that more value is being placed on ML engineers and AI engineers, because these are people that you don't, if the model is already on ground, then you probably don't need a data scientist anymore. The only place you probably need a data scientist is when they can generate, like help you understand your data properly with these statistical models, right? That's something an ML engineer might probably not like to do. Maybe they just want to be like, they just want to help you deploy those ML models, right? But you're now seeing that because there are models that are readily on ground, you're seeing less people clamor for data scientists and more people saying, hey, now because these models are on ground, can we now take these models and deploy them to our software systems or deploy them to our end users and stuff like that? And that's where the ML and AI engineer comes in to help take those models from experimentation to what we call production. So that's it. Like I said, the models could be either NLP models or CV models or deep learning and the like. So I hope that answers your question.
Perfectly. I think that's all with regards to the question we have.
Please stay in touch with us in the AI Community Africa. We have our Slack. I think we probably shared our Slack details, and we are going to share a follow-up as well, with including like the details of the past 2 mentorship sessions. So if you're new to this, and you want to keep following up, this happens every last Saturday of the month. We'd also share like the link to the public calendar, so you can subscribe to the calendar.
We love you. We love you guys. Thank you very much. Let's catch up next month.